Commander Zillax's emergency transmission cut through every military channel in the sector. High Command, we have a critical breach of protocol. The Vex-Thul predator cubs have been grooming each other. The silence that followed lasted exactly 2 seconds before chaos erupted across the Galactic Predator Corps headquarters. Repeat that, Commander. General Korvax's voice crackled with disbelief. Did you say grooming? Affirmative, sir. Zillax stared at the training grounds through the observation window, his combat-hardened instincts failing to process what he was witnessing. They're braiding each other's manes with flowers. And are those ribbons? 3 star systems depended on this cohort of Vex-Thul cubs completing their training cycle. The most feared predator species in known space. Beings whose ancestors had hunted across dead worlds and whose combat prowess was literally encoded in galactic law as approaching lethal perfection. Their cubs were refusing combat drills because they didn't want to mess up their hair. How long has this been happening? High Command's voice held the kind of panic usually reserved for fleet-wide system failures. Zillax checked his chronometer. 4 hours since initial discovery. Sir, they've organized themselves into what they're calling style squads. The Alpha Cub, the one we designated for advanced wet work training, just asked me if we had any leave time scheduled because she wants to let her highlights set properly. Highlights, the general repeated, his voice flat. Commander, the Vex-Thul don't have highlights. Their fur is genetically uniform combat black. Not anymore, sir. Zillax pulled up the live feed. See for yourself. The training arena, designed to simulate the most hostile environments in the galaxy, now looked like something his daughter would have drawn in primary education. 20 Vex-Thul cubs, each one bred and trained from birth to be a perfect killing machine, sat in a circle. They were taking turns with what appeared to be grooming implements, carefully styling each other's combat fur into elaborate patterns. Their claws, which could rend through starship plating, delicately wove intricate braids. One cub had cornrows. Another sported what could only be described as a mohawk with braided sides. The smallest one had somehow managed tiny braids all over her head, decorated with what looked like... Are those beads? High Command breathed. Yes, sir. Recreational supply requisition shows they traded their combat rations for craft supplies from the human sectors. The human? The general's tone shifted from panic to something approaching understanding, or possibly rage. Commander, where is the human civilian contractor? We're locating her now, sir. Locating her? You lost track of a human on a military installation? Zillax's mandibles clicked in embarrassment. Sir, she's janitorial staff. We didn't think... You didn't think a human could dismantle our entire Predator program in under 4 hours? The general's voice rose. Commander, I want that human in your office immediately. I want to know exactly how a maintenance worker with a mop bucket managed to do what 3 enemy empires couldn't. Completely neutralize our most effective fighting force. Sir, with respect, the cubs aren't neutralized. They're just... Just what, Commander? Zillax watched as one cub held up a reflective surface, while another adjusted the small braids framing her face, both of them making sounds that his translator kept rendering as giggling. They're bonding, sir. The word hung in the air like a weapon discharge. Vex-Thul didn't bond. They tolerated. They formed temporary tactical alliances based on dominance hierarchies and combat necessity. They did not sit in circles braiding each other's fur while discussing. He checked his audio feed. Whether midnight black or charcoal black looks better with their eye color. Find the human, Commander. Now. Already on it, sir. According to facility records, her name is Emma Johnson. Human female, maintenance division, clearance level 3. Currently assigned to. He pulled up the location tracker. She's in supply corridor 7B, waxing floors. She's waxing floors. The general's voice had gone very quiet, which was somehow more terrifying than the shouting. While the Cubs, who are supposed to be ready for combat deployment in 72 hours, are hosting what my translator keeps calling a spa day. That's accurate, sir. Get her, Commander, before this gets worse. Zillax was about to ask how it could possibly get worse when his comm lit up with another alert. He pulled up the feed and felt his combat training, his years of experience, his entire understanding of military protocol crumble into dust. The senior Predators, fully trained Vex-Thul warriors with active combat records, were lining up outside the training arena. They wanted to know where the Cubs got the hairbrushes. Zillax found Emma Johnson exactly where the tracker said she'd be, running an industrial buffer over the corridor floors, headphones in, humming something that his translator couldn't process. "Human Johnson," he barked, expecting the appropriate response to a superior officer's command voice. She pulled out one earbud, glanced at him, and smiled. "Hey there. Sorry, is the buffer too loud? I can come back later if..." The Vex-Thul Cubs. He stepped directly into her path, all 4 arms crossed in what was universally recognized as serious authority posture. "What did you do to them?" Emma blinked. Then her expression shifted to something between amusement and concern. "Oh no. Did they get into my styling kit?" "Your styling kit?" Zillax felt something in his command training crack. "You mean the implements currently being used to dismantle our entire combat program?" "I mean my hairbrush and the braiding supplies I keep in my cleaning cart." She laughed. Actually laughed at his expression. "Okay, hang on. What exactly did they do?" "They've organized into style squads. They're refusing combat training. They've decorated themselves with unauthorized accessories, and..." He pulled up the footage on his tactical display. "Explain this." Emma leaned in, watched for about 5 seconds, and her face lit up. "Oh my God, they're adorable. Look at those tiny braids. And is that one doing a fish tail? That's advanced. That one is designated for assassination protocols. Well, she's got great hand-eye coordination. Makes sense." Emma seemed completely unbothered by the existential crisis unfolding around her. "How'd they even find my stuff?" "According to security footage, one of the Cubs was exploring maintenance areas during free roam period. She discovered your cart. She found your hairbrush." He said the word like it was a weapon designation. Within 30 minutes, all 20 Cubs had abandoned their training schedule. "Yeah, everyone likes looking good. What's the big deal?" Emma shrugged, turning off her buffer. "I mean, they're kids, right? Kids love playing with hair stuff." "They are not kids. They are Vex-Thul warriors in training, the most lethal predator species in..." "They're like what, 12 in human years?" Emma interrupted. "Trust me, I've got a daughter. This is totally normal behavior." "Normal?" Zillax's voice climbed an octave. "Human Johnson, these beings are bred for combat. Their social structure is based entirely on dominance hierarchies established through ritualized combat. They don't..." He struggled for the words. "They don't complement each other's appearance." "Well, they do now." Emma grinned. "And honestly, that's probably healthier. Building each other up instead of tearing each other down. Good for them." "Building each other." Zillax pulled up another feed. "Look at this. Training instructor R. Hill attempted to initiate a standard dominance spar. The Cubs told him they didn't want to mess up their looks and suggested he try a protein treatment for his stress-damaged fur. Emma burst out laughing. Okay, that's actually hilarious. This is not hilarious. This is a complete breakdown of... His comm erupted with alerts. 3 more, then 5, then a dozen. What now? He pulled up the feeds and felt reality tilt sideways. The senior predators, battle-hardened Vexthul with kill counts in the triple digits, were outside the training arena. They'd apparently been watching, and now they wanted in. Commander? One of them, a decorated combat veteran named Vexia, spoke into the comm. The Cubs mentioned something about conditioning treatments for split ends. Our combat operations have been damaging to our mains. We were wondering, absolutely not. Zilax roared. You are active-duty warriors. You don't need... Sir, with respect, morale has been low. Vexia's voice stayed level. And the Cubs seem happy. We haven't seen that before, in any cohort, ever. Emma leaned over to look at Zilax's screen. Oh, see? They just want to feel good about themselves. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? Zilax gestured wildly at the displays. Everything. Our entire training doctrine, our combat philosophy, our understanding of Vexthul psychology. It's all collapsing because of a hairbrush. Technically, it's a brush, leave-in conditioner, detangling spray, and a really good set of braiding bands. Emma corrected cheerfully. The beads were mine too. I was going to use them for a craft project. Another alert. The Cubs were requesting workshop time to teach basic styling techniques to the senior predators, who were enthusiastically agreeing. This can't be happening, Zilax muttered. Oh, and Commander? His tactical officer's voice came through, carefully neutral. The Cubs ran their standard combat efficiency tests this morning, despite skipping yesterday's training. And their scores improved by 47%, especially in coordinated team exercises. They're working together better than any previous cohort, like they actually trust each other. Zilax stared at Emma, who just smiled and shrugged. So, she said brightly, you want me to show you guys how conditioning works, or? Behavioral specialist Kaeldra arrived within 6 hours, carrying data tablets filled with centuries of research and looking like she expected to solve this problem before lunch. She lasted exactly 43 minutes before her entire academic foundation crumbled. This is impossible, she breathed, watching through the observation window as a cub carefully sectioned another's mane while explaining the benefits of protective styling for field operations. The literature is explicit. Vexthul bond exclusively through combat-based dominance establishment. It's in their genetic coding. We have 3,000 years of behavioral data confirming. Yeah, your data's wrong, Emma said from where she sat cross-legged on the floor, demonstrating a French braid technique to 6 utterly fascinated senior predators. Kaeldra spun around. Excuse me? You heard me. Emma didn't look up, her hands moving steadily through Vexia's midnight black mane. You guys never actually asked them what they wanted. You just assumed combat was the only way they could connect. We didn't assume. We observed. We documented. Kaeldra pulled up her oldest files. The first contact protocols with Vexthul clearly established that their social structure was probably them being defensive because you showed up all official and scary? Emma shrugged. Look, I've got a daughter on a soccer team. First day of practice, all the girls were super competitive, didn't want to pass the ball, everyone trying to prove they were the best. Know what fixed it? I fail to see how juvenile human sports relate to team bonding activities, pizza parties, braiding each other's hair before games. Emma, grinned as Vexia made a pleased rumbling sound at the finished braid. Turns out kids, any kids, perform better when they actually like each other. They are not children, Kaeldra insisted, but her voice had lost its certainty. They are warriors, predators. The entire species evolved for surviving, yeah. And you know what helps you survive? Emma finally looked up, her expression friendly but firm. Having people you trust watching your back, not just temporary tactical alliances or whatever. Actual friends. Commander Zillax, who'd been silent in the corner, made a strangled noise. The protocols specifically prohibit emotional attachment. It compromises combat effectiveness. Does it, though? Emma gestured at the training arena below, where the cubs were running through tactical scenarios. Because your own data says they're doing better. Kaeldra pulled up the latest results, her hands shaking slightly. Coordinated assault patterns up 52%. Response time to teammate distress signals decreased by 68%. Communication efficiency. She sat down heavily. They're anticipating each other's moves, covering weaknesses automatically, operating like a single unit instead of 20 individuals. We call that building trust back home, Emma said, starting on another braid. Crazy concept, I know. But the ancient texts, Kaeldra began desperately, were written by people who never tried asking the Vex Thule what they actually needed. Emma's voice stayed gentle. You guys saw predators and assumed that meant they couldn't form supportive relationships. But look at them. Through the window, a cub stumbled during a drill. Immediately, 3 others adjusted their positions to cover her. Not because of tactical protocol, but because they were worried about her. The stumbling cub recovered, received what could only be described as encouraging chirps, and dove back into formation with renewed confidence. They trust each other, Zillax whispered, watching his entire career's worth of training doctrine dissolve. Actually trust each other, and they're happy about it. Emma finished the braid, and Vexia, a warrior with 17 confirmed fleet kills, practically purred. See? Everyone likes feeling good about themselves, even apex predators. Kaeldra stood abruptly, pacing. If this is accurate, if Vex Thule can form genuine cooperative bonds through non-combat socialization, then our entire approach to predator species integration is fundamentally flawed. The training programs, the deployment strategies, the psychological profiles. She pressed her hands to her head. We've been doing this wrong for centuries. Not wrong, Emma corrected. Just incomplete. You taught them how to fight. You never taught them how to be a team. A team. Zillax tested the word. Not a unit, a team. Exactly, Emma beamed. And confident warriors fight better. If they feel good about themselves, if they trust their squad. If they know someone's got their back because they're friends, not just tactical necessities. She gestured at the performance data. Well, you can see the results. Below, the cubs finished their drill with perfect synchronization. Then they immediately gathered to check on each other, complement the execution, adjust a braid that had come loose during combat rolls. Kaeldra watched them, her academic certainty crumbling into something like wonder. We could have had this the whole time. Centuries of isolated, aggressive predators when they were capable of. She trailed off. Friendship, Emma supplied helpfully. The word you're looking for is friendship. Friendship, Kaeldra repeated, like she was learning a new language. Among the galaxy's most feared predators. Why not? Emma laughed. Even scary death machines need someone to talk to. And hey, She held up one of her braiding bands. Everyone looks better with a good mane day. The High Command Emergency Council convened via holoconference exactly 18 hours after the initial crisis report. 12 generals, 4 admirals, and the Supreme Tactical Director all materialized in the briefing room, their expressions ranging from confused to apoplectic. Emma sat on the floor in the corner, casually working a 3-strand braid into a cub's mane while the galaxy's military leadership tried to process what they were seeing. "Let me understand this correctly," the Supreme Director began, his voice carefully controlled. "A human janitor has fundamentally altered our most elite predator training program with a hairbrush. And conditioner," Emma added helpfully, not looking up. "The conditioner's really important. Their manes get super dry in these artificial environments." "Human Johnson," Commander Zilak started. "It's just Emma. Human Johnson makes me sound like a superhero or something." She laughed, finishing the braid with a small bead. "There you go, sweetie. Looks great." The cub, designated Strike Unit 7 Alpha in official records, chirped happily and bounded off to show her squad. "Emma." The Supreme Director's tone suggested he was exercising tremendous patience. "Please explain how this grooming has improved combat effectiveness by 47%. "Oh, that's easy." Emma stood, brushing off her maintenance uniform. "Happy warriors fight better. It's not exactly rocket science." She pulled up the data displays that Kyldra had compiled. "See, before, you had 20 individual predators all trying to prove they were the toughest. Lots of competition, not much cooperation. They'd work together because they had to, not because they wanted to. That's standard tactical protocol for," an admiral began, "for making adequate soldiers, sure." Emma nodded. "But these guys? They're not adequate anymore. They're exceptional, because they actually care about each other now." She gestured at the training footage. "Watch this coordinated assault pattern. See how 3 Beta automatically covers 6 Gamma's blind spot? That's not protocol memorization. That's trust. She knows her friend needs help, and she's there before 6 Gamma even has to ask." "Friend," one of the generals repeated slowly. "You're saying Vexthul cubs have formed friendships. Revolutionary, right?" Emma's sarcasm was gentle. "Turns out, if you let people, even scary predator people, actually bond with each other, they perform better. They communicate better. They trust better. And when you trust your team, you fight harder to protect them." Kyldra stepped forward, her academic bearing restored but noticeably humbled. "The data is irrefutable. Trust-based bonding has created superior tactical units. Every metric has improved: reaction time, communication efficiency, coordinated maneuvers, even individual combat scores. They're pushing themselves harder because they don't want to let their squad down." "Their squad," Zilax added quietly. "Not their unit, their squad. There's a difference." The Supreme Director studied the data for a long moment. "Behavioral Specialist Kyldra, your recommendation?" "Full protocol revision, sir. Immediate implementation of social bonding activities across all predator training programs. The traditional isolation doctrine has been..." She paused, choosing words carefully. "Significantly counterproductive." "Commander Zilax?" Zilax straightened, his military bearing impeccable despite the chaos of the past day. "Sir, I was skeptical. I believed centuries of doctrine couldn't be wrong. But the results speak for themselves. These cubs are ready for deployment, more ready than any cohort I've trained. And they achieved it through..." He gestured helplessly. "Braiding each other's hair." "Battle manes," Emma corrected cheerfully. If we're making it official, let's give it a cool name. Battle mains, the Supreme Director repeated, something like amusement creeping into his voice. Very well. The Galactic Predator Corps will officially integrate appearance-based team cohesion protocol into all training regimens, effective immediately. He focused on Emma. Human Johnson, Emma, on behalf of High Command, we'd like to offer you a position as Cultural Integration Specialist. Salary commensurate with your extraordinary contribution to... Gonna stop you right there. Emma held up a hand, grinning. I appreciate it, really. But I just clean floors, guys. I'm not qualified to revolutionize your military. You already have, Kaeldra said softly. Yeah, well, that was an accident. Emma pulled out a data pad from her cleaning cart. But here, I wrote up a basic grooming kit manual. Supplies you'll need, techniques for different main types, maintenance schedules. Should get you started. She handed it to a slightly stunned Zillax. And maybe, just talk to the Cubs sometimes? Ask them what they need? Revolutionary concept, but it might help. The Supreme Director nodded slowly. The Cubs will graduate with full honors. They'll deploy to their assigned star systems as the first official cohesive Predator unit in Galactic Corps history. With fabulous mains, Emma added. With fabulous mains, he agreed, and almost smiled. Dismissed? As the holograms flickered out, Zillax looked at Emma. You really won't accept the position? Nope, got floors to wax. She grabbed her buffer. But hey, if you guys need grooming advice, you know where to find me. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Predator Corps had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Appearance maintenance officially appeared in training schedules across 17 installations. Other species, including the notoriously aggressive Krath shock troops, had submitted formal requests for Emma's team-building methodologies. High Command issued Regulation GPC 447, approved battle aesthetics standards, complete with a 70-page manual on proper main care during extended deployments. Commander Zillax stood in front of his mirror, attempting to replicate the simple braid pattern Emma had demonstrated. His reflection showed a lopsided, somewhat tragic result that would have horrified any self-respecting stylist. Commander? His aide peeked in. The Cubs' first mission report just arrived. Zillax pulled up the holodisplay, bracing himself for... he wasn't sure what. The footage showed the deployment to the Kepler border, a notoriously difficult assignment involving territorial disputes and potential hostile contact. The Cubs had resolved the situation in 4 hours. No casualties. Both parties satisfied with the mediation. And every single Vex Thule maintained absolutely perfect mains throughout the entire operation. One Cub had even paused mid-negotiation to fix another's slightly askew braid before continuing. The gesture had apparently convinced the hostile parties that these predators were confident enough to care about appearance during a crisis, which implied they weren't actually worried about the threat level at all. The psychological impact had been devastating. They're calling them the Styled Strike Force, his aide reported, barely suppressing a smile. Social media across 3 systems is obsessed with them. Zillax closed the report and headed for the maintenance sector. He found Emma exactly where he expected. Supply corridor 7B, buffer humming, completely absorbed in her work. Emma. He waited for her to pull out her earbud. I wanted to thank you for saving the Predator program. She laughed, that easy human sound that still baffled him. Sure thing, Commander. Hey. She glanced at his mane, wincing slightly. You want me to fix that? No offense, but it's kind of lopsided. I was attempting the basic technique you demonstrated. Yeah, I can tell. She grinned, pulling out a comb from her cart. Come here. I'll show you again. It's all about the sectioning. You gotta divide it evenly first. As her practiced hands worked through his mane, Zilax found himself relaxing in a way that combat training had never taught him. How did you know? He asked quietly. That this would work? My daughter's soccer team had the same problem last year. Emma's voice was casual, conversational. Bunch of competitive kids who couldn't work together. Coach tried everything. Drills, penalties, motivational speeches. Nothing worked. What changed? Team bonding night. They all came over, we did face masks, braided hair, talked about stuff that wasn't soccer. Next game? She finished a section, moving to the next. Perfect coordination. Best season they ever had. Because they became friends. Because they became friends, Emma confirmed. Kids are kids, even the furry ones with claws. They just needed permission to actually like each other. She stepped back, examining her work. There. Much better. See? Even you look good with proper styling. Zilax checked his reflection and had to admit, she was right. The hairbrush you used, he said carefully. High Command wants to put it in the military museum as a historical artifact. They want my hairbrush? Emma stared at him. I use that. Tell them to buy their own from the human sector. It's like 8 credits. I'll relay that message. Emma returned to her buffer, shaking her head with amusement. As Zilax turned to leave, he nearly collided with a young Vexthul cub, not from the original cohort, but from the incoming class. The cub looked up at him with wide eyes, then passed him to Emma, her expression hopeful. Let me guess, Emma called out, having noticed the visitor. You want the full treatment? The cub nodded eagerly. Emma sighed, but it was good-natured, warm. All right, sweetie. But this time we're using conditioner. Your mane's gonna be gorgeous, but you gotta take care of it properly. Deal? Another enthusiastic nod. As Emma led the cub toward her supply closet, which had apparently become an unofficial styling salon, Zilax watched in amazement. The galaxy's most feared predator species, reformed by human kindness and a hairbrush. 3 star systems now protected by warriors who trusted each other completely. Ancient combat doctrines rewritten because someone asked, what if we just talked to them? The hairbrush incident, they were calling it in official reports. Future integration protocols would cite it as the moment everything changed. Zilax heard Emma's laughter from inside the closet, followed by the cub's pleased chirping as she examined braiding options. Humans, he muttered, heading back to his office with his perfectly styled mane. They really do weaponize everything, even friendship. And somehow, that had saved them all.